All right. So to get started, I wanted to share with you this presentation that I put together that will give you an overview of everything that's happening within the generative AI creative field. And before we start, I wanted to give you a huge thank you for being part of the Masters of AI program. Because if you're watching this video, that means that you're one of our early birds or advanced members, and that truly means a lot. So I spent a lot of time working on this program. The team behind it helped me kind of like putting the curriculum all together. And I really hope you will get maximum value from being a Masters of AI member. And if we talk about goals and objective, for me, there is pretty much like three objectives that I really want you to achieve by being part of the Masters of AI program. The first one is to uncover all the different tools and softwares that are currently available, because I think like we need to start there for you to being able to find a path or a way to like implement and integrate these tools within your creative process. And that's the second piece, right? Is like, it's great to knowing what's going on with AI. I think it's even more important to being able to understand how you're going to be able to integrate AI within your creative workflow. And the final piece, and why I want to build a creative, an online course that is a little bit different than like everything that is available out there. I really want to work on like real life application and case study that you're going to be able to really integrate once you completed the program. Because the goal here is to allowing you to learn new skills that you can apply if you work within a company. But if you're a creator or a freelance or work with an agency, I want you to being able to like monetize and see a positive ROI because you choose to invest in this program. I want to make sure that you see the values that you can generate out of it. And if you're here today, you probably fill up the survey that I sent with a couple of different questions. It was very valuable for me to kind of like understand where you position yourself. And it's pretty interesting to see that roughly 40% of Discord considers themselves beginner. And if it's your case, you don't have to be worried because we're going to cover all the foundation and more. So I'm going to start with the basics. We're not going to spend too much time because, to be honest, this is not where the most like challenging part of the program happen. And if you're in the intermediate or even advanced, you will be able to skip some of the chapter. I'm trying to do the video as short and efficient as possible. So I still recommend that you take a look because like you might discover like the way I'm doing things that are a little bit different than others, and that can still help you to learn new things. And the goal after the program is like no beginner anymore. I want to have like the vast majority of you to be intermediate and advanced. The goal and the name of this program is to create the next generation of Masters of AI. So we're going to work together hard on this, and I'm very excited to having you on board. When I'm working on all of this content, to be fully transparent, the most challenging part is the fact that I'm just like, speaking to my camera right now. We are not all together. That would be amazing, but that would be hundreds of people in the same room. Maybe we can try to do some in real life event in the future. But the idea here is we created this Discord server. If you're not part of it already, I'm going to add the link within the description of this first course. Please join the Discord, and we have a dedicated channel for introduction. So I would love to actually hear from all of you guys, who you are, what do you do, from which part of the world you are joining, as well as what you expect to gain from this AI training session. And the goal with this community is really to helping like building a deeper connection. And when you will learn new stuff and you're going to start to create content, that will be amazing to being able to have you share this content and seeing the evolution from where you were when you started with the program and what you were able to achieve once you completed the curriculum. And without further ado, I will give you a quick introduction about myself because I think it's pretty important to giving you the context, like who I am as an individual and as a creative, because I think this is like very important and have like a huge impact or a lot of importance with why I believe I was successful using AI, at least in the past 2 years. So, like I say, my name is Benjamin. I was born and raised in France. I've been living in Los Angeles for the past 10 years, but I still have a French accent and a broken English. I don't think it will go away anytime soon. I'm a father of two. I'm married to an amazing wife that I met at school. And interesting facts, we starting working together when we were studying design in France, and she was already finishing up my homework when we were working together. And then when we graduated, we started our first business and our first agency right out of school. And we've been working together for the past 15 years. So I might launch a course at some point for people that want to learn how this is possible to launch a business with your life partner and making it successful. But I always want to mention that because, again, without her, probably not going to be where I am today. So shout out to my wife and shout out to my kids. They're like all amazing. And let's talk about my professional career. So like I say, I studied design, and then right after graduating, I launched my first creative agency. And since then, I've been a creative director, and I've been a creative director my whole life. I believe that one of my superpower always been able to put together different creatives and skills, and being able to pitch an idea or a vision to a client, doing a lot of research, putting together the vibe and the mood of the campaign, and creating the entire experience. And this is just like some snapshot of the different campaign we work with, but we work for Nike, Adidas, ASICS. We did a lot of experiential events. We did a lot of branding and motion design. And I always work with like amazing talent within like 3D, animation, typography, all these different skills, and work as like the chef d'orchestre to kind of like putting all these skills together. This is very important because I feel this like 15 plus years of experience, probably what made me capable of prompting and defining or explaining my idea and what I have in mind in a sense that like I was able to generating the content I wanted to generate. So that's going to be a very important part, and that's something that like the AI will not do for you. You need to like educate yourself. You need to consume a lot of content, build your own references to being able to be successful with AI. And then in the past 2 years, I really had my first moment when I was starting to work around this like impossible store, all the Nike concept that got my first viral moment on Instagram and LinkedIn. And I think back then, like I say, I was just like experimenting with a lot of different things. Of course, I wanted to have like the same aesthetic and vibe, but I also wanted to use AI to explore territories that as a creative, I wasn't able to do, right? So I'm not an architect. I never work in like, automotive design or stuff like that. So it was amazing to being able to use AI to being able to create this type of content. And for Kobe, I'm a huge fan of Kobe. I had the amazing opportunity to meet him in person in Los Angeles when we were just moving there. So it was also for me like a huge opportunity to just like take all my passion, all my influence and creative direction that I wanted to explore using AI to create content that, wouldn't have been possible without working with like a full team before. And more recently, I would say for the past year, I was very focusing around like the samurai and all these like Japanese influence territories. This is something that if you know me personally, I'm a big time nerd. I grew up watching, anime, traveled to Japan a couple of times. I'm like a black belt in karate. So like I next level nerd on this stuff. And but besides that, it was also very interesting to being able to almost find an outlet where I can like try different territories, I can blend different influence and different concepts together. And that's something that I realized, especially on social media. If you want to have an impact, it's very important that you kind of like focus on a niche and you find your own voice and your own territories, and you try to like, just like getting better at doing it. And that's kind of like what I'm doing with that. This is amazing that like what's got my, the biggest like reach and exposure on social is something that is like closest to my biggest influence. I hope I can like continue to explore in this category, but also working around the fact that I don't want to only create images, but I want to use these images and bring as much project to life as possible, no matter if it's like a sculpture, an actual armor, an installation, a concept for an exhibition. For me, like AI is just like part of the workflow, but that doesn't mean that it's just like end and stay within the digital space. And a quick note on like commercial project I was able to complete. So this is like another thing, and hopefully you will be able to learn a lot about that within the course. But the truth is, like, when people ask me, are you able to monetize your skills? Like, yes, I was like lucky and blessed to have the opportunity to work on a couple of like paid projects without necessarily trying too hard, to be honest, because I'm like very busy with other part of my business. But it was amazing to have the opportunity to collaborate with Paris Saint-Germain, which is, you know, my team. I designed all the posters for the championship this year. This was like a collaboration between PSG and crypto.com. So they got a lot of like fans around the world being able to download the free NFTs and being part of an amazing experience. I work with Scotch in South Korea to design a series of impossible store concepts. Work with Audemars Piguet, Rado, different like luxury brand, and there is like other projects that cannot really share yet because they haven't been made public. But again, working with Sonos, Lacoste, all this amazing company to kind of like either create content or help them with like corporate training, taking the team internally within Lacoste, for example, to understand better how they can use these different tools. And by the way, if you're working within a company and you're interested, we are offering an in-person masterclass program that usually work very well for like group of like 10 to 15 people. So feel free to reach out to me directly if you think that could be something that you or your company will be interested to explore or learn more about. And then now let's talk about the current state of AI. And I try to sum up everything. There is so many things going on, but let's focus on like what will be very valuable for this online course. The first one is the evolution of the Midjourney model. This is where everything started for me. I believe that Midjourney is like way ahead of the competition in terms of quality of the model, but I always like to, take the latest version of the model and run the same prompt within the different previous version. And as you can see, the evolution from like V1 to V6 is pretty mind blowing. I actually feel that like what you can do with V1 on like a pure artistic standpoint is very interesting. I mean, I would rock this like painting behind me for sure. I love like the abstract and like elements within it, and I also feel that this is almost like a period of time that felt like so short, right? Like when AI happened, and then almost like move from like this like imperfected states to like photorealistic content that I don't know. I feel this is like something interesting, and I'm probably going to work around a couple of like art piece around that, but like feel free to do so because there is so many interesting things you can create with like the more raw models that are available out there. And then if you look at the evolution, like V4, V5 was really the moment where like things were getting serious. And then 5.2 was actually a little bit of a bummer for me. And I know for a lot of people in the Midjourney community, because the model was better, but it kind of like also lost a lot of like the control. And so it was like more creative and more refined, but it was also way harder to getting, your prompt to actually materialize within the image. And then V6 kind of like put everything back in place. This is for me the most amazing model available out there. And but I also believe that Stable Diffusion, DALL-E, and the other solution will just like keep improving. And at some point we'll reach a moment where all the different models kind of like pretty much have the same level of quality. And a big update recently within Midjourney. Everything was happening on Discord before. I'm going to show you all the things on Discord that you need to know. But I'm using more and more their web apps they released a couple of months ago. And before it was limited only to people that generated over 10,000 images. Then it brings the limit to 1,000. Now it's 100. So like pretty much I would recommend you to kind of like create these first 100 images as fast as possible to being able to start using the web application. I still love Discord for the community angle, but when you start to like really improve and like scale your practice within Midjourney, you probably don't want to have to deal with all the limitation on Discord, and you want to being able to leverage all the different settings and all the different folders that are available on the web app application. Upscaling and enhancement is a big thing because again, this is like part of my workflow. There is not really like a single tool right now that can get you from like beginning to end. And it's very important to like understand that like all the image I'm putting out there, they are not just straight out of Midjourney. So like I'm using Midjourney, yes, but then after that, I do a lot of editing and post-production and enhancement with different tools like Magnify or Crea. And this is amazing because they really help us like texture of the skin, you know, details on the eyes when you're working on a character. And they're like super valuable tools to being able to use within your creative workflow. The AI motion piece is something as well that was very important to get my content viral, especially on Instagram. So I've been using Leia Peaks to kind of like create like this depth and like simple camera motion. I will show you all my tips and tricks using this tool, but I'm also exploring a lot with Stable Diffusion on different workflow to like animate and have more control over the video. Ultimately, this is a place that is like on one side the most exciting, but is also evolving like the fastest, I feel. And sometimes you kind of like you feel bad about like spending too much time on like Stable Diffusion, learning like complex workflow, and then there is like a tool that just like release the new features that making it super easy to do. And that's probably going to be the case when like Sora got available more broadly, like to make kind of like irrelevant all the other solutions like Runway and Pika. So I'm just like, you know, curious, and I can't wait like anyone else to being able to start all these different models. We saw what Sora is capable of. We saw Google releasing the VEO model, as well as Alibaba Research Group as their own model as well. I believe that all this model will become commodity, and actually having this like a massive competition within the different tech provider, we're probably making it for the better for us as a users in terms of like cost and capability and accessibility. Control and consistency is a very big topic when you're working with AI. I will show you within Midjourney how to have like more control, especially when you're doing character design and avatar. And then I will show you some Stable Diffusion workflow. In this example, this is like a workflow I built to kind of like help with like controlling the outfit and changing the outfit on the character. Of course, when I'm doing like samurai armor, I don't care too much about this one, but if you work in an industry where you want to really start to like using AI as your production partner for like a photo shoot or a brand campaign, you want to be able to have the control over the style and the outfit of your model. So we share that. This is changing all the time. There is always new model available. I believe that in the coming months we will have this model where you can easily drag and drop the clauses and it's going to change it. But in this case, from like one input, can have like a virtual avatar, can change the style of the avatar, the pose, like all these different things. And I will share with you the workflow, so you only need to like drag and drop and just like mess around with the different settings to make it work. This is on Stable Diffusion Comfy UI. I recommend, and I will share some like a beginner material just for you to like understand the platform, how the nodes are working, because this is like definitely more advanced than anything you can do within Midjourney. And now let's talk about, you know, like this is all the potential. This is everything that's going on. There is even more. There is like model to do from like a 2D image to a 3D render. Like so many things are happening. I'm not even talking about ChatGPT and, you know, the voice capability, all these different things. But for the context of this specific course, basically I want to share what I believe is like the actionable steps you can take to start like using these different technologies. And in terms of applications and limitation, so really for me, you can start from today or after you complete this course using AI for like all the research and ideation phase. Like before, you know, any creative will like, you know, go on Google, do some research, like Pinterest, build your mood board, like using all the different platforms to find references and kind of like work on like your ID. Now you can use AI to just like from the get-go, having AI as your creative partners and being able to generating concepts that are, new and different from like anyone that's been created before. And I also believe that you can pretty much create the final assets for like real campaign already today. There is some limitation. There is certain things that are not possible, but for me, the vast majority of the use case or like anything that you would do with a traditional photographer or designer, you can probably doing it right now with AI and finalize the work with the rest of like the editing skills that you need. The biggest challenge with AI is ultimately like consistency. Like if you want to create like very consistent images, that's not like always easy to achieve. The demands in terms of like a resource and time you need to spend, this is a very big topic. Like using AI doesn't mean that the AI will do the work for you. It's actually extremely time consuming. I spend hundreds of hours, I spend weekends, I spend long nights testing out different workflow, different tools. And what you think that I'm posting online usually is like the top 1% of the content. And everything else, I'm not sharing it because, either I don't consider it as good as I want it to be, or I tried an idea and then it didn't go anywhere. I spend most of the time like testing, iterating, learning that actually, like posting the content on social. So it's very important to keep this in mind. If you want to be serious about using AI within your creative workflow, you need to learn. You need to put up the hours into it. Everything you learned before will be valuable. The references, the editing skills, understanding how production works, like all this stuff extremely valuable, but you still need to invest the proper amount of time and effort to being able to really upgrade your skills. And the last challenge is like the rapid evolution of AI. Like I mentioned before, things are changing so fast that sometimes you feel that like, okay, I finally learned this new workflow, and then there is a new model that does that instantly. This is not too bad. I'm going to try to guide you on like the things that I personally believe are like long-term investment. I don't think Midjourney will go away anytime soon. And I think it's very important to like understanding how to use this platform. But as well, everything you learn on Midjourney can also apply on like other solution. So that's not like you're not wasting your time learning this type of things. And I don't think we're going back anytime soon. And the biggest concept is using AI as a creative partner. This is not a good idea to think about like, either the AI is doing everything for you. It's not going to happen. Like you need to come up with like the ideas, the concepts, the storytelling, all these different things. And on the other side, it's also pretty dangerous to thinking about using the AI only for executive production. Because the truth is like, if you showed up with like a very defined idea and you want to use like an AI tool to do exactly what you have in mind, sometimes you can end up very frustrated. And I don't think this is where the magic happens. Like I believe that like you came up with an idea and you start to using AI to being able to like materialize this idea and blend stuff together that maybe you haven't thought about in the first place. This is where the magic happens, and this is where the success will more materialize when you have AI within your creative workflow. And in terms of step-by-step, just to like sharing my step-by-step process and pretty much what we're going to cover within the entire course. So like I say, the first step is like quick concept testing. When I have an idea, the first thing I do is like going on Discord or going on the Midjourney web app, and I'm just like prompt this idea. And that can literally be anything, right? But if you look at my like samurai series, recently I post this like concept about, like samurai armor, match with like the Yankees baseball team. I'm moving to New York in August, so I start to like, want to pay homage to the city, even if I'm not there yet. But anyway, it was just like, I had this idea. I was like, oh, that would be so cool to kind of like blend the two together. And then I start messing around with it and I integrate posters in the background, like all these different things. I was just like testing ideas, and I do that all the time. I test ideas. Some ideas I'm going to keep going and I want to release like the piece for my social. Some other ideas I will put them to trash. Some other ideas I will put them to sleep, and I might revisit them in a couple of months. So using AI to testing your concept is probably the most valuable things to do. And then knowing all the Midjourney commands that will allow you to scale your process, right? Once you find something that you like or an idea that is working, you need to have like some knowledge to being able to really scale up your process to create more content faster and in a better way. The third part, which is actually non-AI related, is content curation and storytelling. This is why humans are like super important. The AI will don't do this part for you. And I think any work, like an amazing image without a concept or without like storytelling is just like a beautiful image. But I think if you want to have an impact, or if you're like trying to do like a campaign for a brand or a collaboration as an artist or stuff like that, you still need to come up with like the concept. And when you're starting to creating your images, is like why you will use AI to being able to achieve this specific goal. In my case, it wouldn't be possible for me to like, create this like amazing series of images with like samurai armors with like diamonds and all these different things without using AI, right? So it's just like an amazing enabler. I came up with a concept and I use technology to create all the content I need to being able to bring this idea to life and share it with my audience. And the last part is like enhancement, post-production, all the way to like actually making a video out of the content you are creating. That's going to be like pretty much everything we're going to cover and more. So stay tuned, buckle up, because it's going to be a lot of content to get through. But when you complete the course, hopefully you will be equipped with like everything you need to use this new technology within your creative workflow. So up next is a deep dive with Midjourney. I'm going to do a first video when I kind of like cover pretty much like everything within Midjourney. I will share a lot of like collaterals and materials that you can use. And after the next video, we're going to get straight into creating content together. So I will share my screen. I will show you how I build my prompt. We will work within different categories. So like architecture, product design, art, fashion, avatars, like really step by step breaking up everything I'm doing. So you're going to be able to do it at the same time and share the content you're creating within your peers on the Discord channel. So thank you again for joining Masters of AI, and let's keep going.